Hey guys, today is, as we know, day 4 of week 1 of our super summer school learning extravaganza. um, all this week we've been learning really fantastic things about how to have clean drinking water. We've learned, as per our video on Monday, how we, as a community and in the municipalities, how we actually um, clean and purify water on a very large scale. We visited the water purification plants that do this, millions of gallons at a time. We on Tuesday we learned why we need to have clean water and what can happen to you if you don't drink clean water. Um, we learned that it can be actually very dangerous and you could possibly die from drinking unpurified water. This is a very serious thing, and I'll talk about it later on in the video. But there are in unpurified water several things that you have to actually protect yourself against. There are bacteria, or bacteria, there are viruses, and there are protozoas. For those of you that don't know, a protozoa is a one-celled animal, and they can kind of wreak havoc when they're in your system. Um, then yesterday, we watched as Miss Ramos set up several little filtration things and showed us different ways that we could actually filter out sediment and dirt from our water. Now, it made our water clear, but not clean. And that there's a very important distinction because bacteria, virus, and protozoa are so small that we can't see them. And we can be looking at crystal clear water and have it still be water that is dangerous to drink. You need to be careful with that. And why is that important? Why is it important for us to do that when we have cities that do it for us? Well, think about this. I want you to understand this. Anything can happen. In 2004, within about 2 months of each other, actually, sorry, 4 months of each other, um, in Thailand, a horrible, horrible um, uh, tsunami hit over there, and it devastated the area, killed lots and lots of people. And one of the biggest problems that they had when they were trying to clean up and trying to find survivors and trying to treat those survivors was that there was no clean water. They had nothing to pull clean water from, nothing that they could clean water that they did have, nothing. They had nothing. And a lot of people died simply because of water related diseases that they had after the tsunami had hit. And then 4 months later, in our very own country, in Louisiana, in and Mississippi, a giant hurricane hit called Katrina and devastated several states and several areas within those states. And it took a long, long time for water to be brought into that area. It was 5 days after the hurricane was done being, the big devastating thing that it was, which it was for several days prior. It took 5 days after the hurricane stopped for them to be able to bring water into the area. That's more than 5 days of people not having something critical like clean drinking water. Very, very dangerous. Um, anyway, not to say that anything like that is going to happen to any of us, but you have to be prepared for that possibility. At least have a little bit of knowledge that you can take with you in case something does happen. So I'm going to show you a video. This is going to go through 5 different ways that you could purify your water, and it's very much based on what your situation is and what your capabilities are. So just pay attention. These are all ways that are all very effective But again, it's not going to work for you. And many, I mean, if you get caught in the mountains, are you going to have a 3-gallon pot where you can boil water, or even gas to boil water, or any of those types of things? But you may be able to carry around a little bottle of bleach with you. So it just depends on what your situation is. But I'm going to go ahead and show this video real quick, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. I swear it. Oh no, I did it again. Hold on. Oops, I did it again. Okay.
Hey everybody, we are in the Boundary Waters in northern Minnesota. This is a great time to talk about ways to purify water. So if you're in the woods, if you're hiking, if you're backpacking, mountain biking, canoeing, you're going to need clean, potable water that's purified, that is rid of any bacteria that's going to be harmful for you. So up here we have a lot of giardia cases, beaver fever. Now a lot of people will claim this water is safe to drink just out of the lake, and for the most part that's true. It's always better to be safer than sorry, right? You don't want to get giardia. Beaver fever is no joke. It hits usually 6 to 10 days after your trip, and I've known people with giardia, and it is not fun. So let's go ahead and talk about 5 ways to purify water in the wilderness. The first way, we all know it hopefully, and that is boiling water for 10 minutes. Now, this is a great method if you're going to be cooking and you want hot water anyways, so that's great. Or if you need to make a large amount of water, boiling is great, but you can't always stop if you're hiking or canoeing.
I just want to make sure that you understand what boiling means. So it's not enough to just heat up the water. You have to heat up the water so that there are big bubbles that come up from the bottom, the big bubbles of air, not just the little ones that go, but the big ones that go, blah, 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 blah. And they have to be big, and that's called rolling boiling. And it has to be doing that for 10 minutes before the water is safe. Okay.
And boil water, right? You need to get your stove set up. You may need to build a fire. So even though that's a great way, the downside is you got to sit down and take some time to do it. So that's not really the preferred method unless you really have to. But of course, you can boil water for about 10 minutes. Another way, this is just bleach. You can put about 3 drops of bleach per gallon in your water, and this will purify your water. This is a method I've been using for years. I really like that method. Another method, I guess method number 3, is using iodine, or Polar Pure is the name of this company. I've been using this for years, since I was in Scouts. Great method, but you have to wait on it. So this is how it works. There's iodine, I guess pellets in the bottom of the Polar Pure. You fill up the bottle, you have to wait an hour for the water inside of it to be purified, and then you use 1 capful per quart to purify your water bottle, and then you got to wait another 20 minutes. So, I mean, this is a 20-minute process to an hour and a half process if you got to fill up the water. And the negative is, too, this is made out of glass because iodine will eat through plastic. But this is a great way to purify your water. Method number 4 is using a pump.
to be careful when you have these pumping things. You have to make sure that they have a filter that is labeled for microbial filtering, meaning that it will filter things that go below a that will have microbial level filters, because bacteria and viruses, again, are very, very small, very, very, very small. So they have to be of a filtration mesh that will keep bacteria and viruses from passing through. Okay, so those are specialized filters. So those are good methods, but you have to make sure that they have exactly what you need in there to protect yourself from getting sick.
The nice thing about a pump, especially if you don't have a reliable water source, is that you can use the pump for creeks, for trickles, for small springs. Most of them are lightweight these days. Some of the older ones, there were parts that could go out, but some of the newer pumps are pretty easy. And a pump is great if you're with one or two people or maybe by yourself, and you can make as much water as you need. It does take a little bit of work. Number 5 is pretty cool. It's called a steri pen.
Get it in, push it once,
You got Parmesan cheese.
that green light goes, and then you just stir.
So this is what the steri pen uses. It uses ultraviolet light to kill bacteria. I mean, that is pretty awesome. You just have to stir it for about a minute, and the ultraviolet light is going to kill any bacteria in your water bottle. Again, you only want to use it for about a water bottle size, a quart. If you need a large amount of water, you're probably not going to use the steri pen. So those are 5 ways to help you stay safe in the woods. Hopefully this has been helpful. Like, subscribe, keep on watching our videos. We got lots of videos about wilderness stuff, about...
Okay, about the okay, so he was very good at explaining, all those different types of methods, and of course they're all going to differ based on what it is that you're doing, why you don't have water, why you need water, etc., etc. So just keep those in mind. I wanted to kind of again get back to
Canoeing,
hold on.
rafting, a lot of homesteading videos. So check
Get
it
back
out,
to
subscribe,
why
and,
it's important that we are drinking clean water, clean and purified water, and I want to kind of bring your attention to the fact that this is not just a problem that we're talking about for us, for you and me. This is actually a global issue. We have an issue where much of the world is covered with people who do not have enough water to drink, and what water they may have is not clean. Now, what happens when you drink water that has bacteria or viruses? Viruses, clearly, you're going to get the virus. Bacteria, depending on what type of bacteria it is, can upset the lining of your stomach and upset the natural order of things in your stomach. And with anywhere, you heard the man talk about beaver fever. Those are caused by bacteria, and he said 6 to 8 days. There are bacteria in much of the water sources worldwide that will cause you to be almost deathly ill within half an hour of drinking it. It's kind of a horrifying thing. I want to kind of bring your attention to this thing right here. If you want to know stuff about what's going on in the world, this is an excellent resource for you. This is called the World Counter, or the World Counts, and it counts things that are happening having to do with global challenges. So you have the planet Earth, climate change, toxic exposures, etc. So globally, right now, as of today, from the beginning of the year, there have been 1.5, almost 1.6 million deaths due to dirty water and related diseases. Now, let me tell you, it's not like you drink the water and then you die. It's you drink the water and then you're sick, very sick, vomiting, diarrhea for days on end. And that's what causes you to die, because you cannot hold anything down and you're excreting all the fluid from your body. It is severe dehydration in the worst possible way. This has happened to 1.6 million people worldwide just this year, just since January 1st. This week, over 30,000 people. This is a global issue, as I say. So while you are thinking about the difficulty of maybe providing water for yourself or for your family in a situation, realize how difficult it is actually for those of us who are thinking about it to provide water for the people that don't even have an option of providing clean water for themselves. That's why we need inventors, guys. That's why it's important. We don't need necessarily things to make our lives easier. Our lives are pretty easy. But what we do need is people who are going to think on a global level, how can we provide water for people who have no water near them? Now, there are people that actually have water that is accessible to them, but they have to walk 4 or 5 miles to get it. And it may not even be the cleanest water. They may be able to bring it back home, carrying it, which you know has to be heavy, and then boiling it, and that makes it possible for them to drink it and not die. But what kind of life is that? I mean, if your job as, as the 12-year-old kid in the family is to take you and your kid sister or your kid brother down, to the one water source that's available 5 miles away, and you have to walk down there and then walk back carrying this water, how much time do you think you have for education? These types of things matter. So I just want you to kind of be thinking about that. Think about ways that that we can provide clean water. Let me see, there was something else that I was, maybe ways that we can transport, easier ways to transport water, because right now it says number of people in need of water. That means they don't even have water anywhere near them that they can access to purify if they had, which would be 2.5 billion people. It's just terrifying to think of, isn't it? I don't know what that means. And worldwide, we use we have used over 4 trillion tons of water. And look at how fast that number is growing. Golly Moses. Water is important, guys. This has been a great unit to study. And I love the fact that we are combining that study of what it means to have clean water with an inventors contest. What an absolutely wonderful thing to get you guys thinking about, maybe thinking globally about what we can do to make the world a better place. I think that's a wonderful thing, and I think you should get your minds right on it. Okay. Well, this is the last video I'm going to make for this week. Tomorrow you're going to have your follow-up video for the Zoom meeting with Ms. Ramos about the water filters that we made yesterday. And I hope it's been fun. Next week, we're going to be learning about other cool stuff. You're going to see. It's going to be awesome. Okay, but don't forget about all the other things that there are to do. Multiplication tables. Get those tests done. Don't forget about 3 o'clock tomorrow. Miss Renzo has her art class. Don't forget about 11 o'clock today, if you haven't missed it. Hopefully you haven't. The dance class. There are so many things to do. It's just crazy. I bet you didn't think that online school could be this much fun. All right, guys. That's it for me for today. I will talk to you later.